On continue donc avec Simone Merli qui va s'exprimer en anglais, qui est italien et qui vit à Berlin. Thank you. Et donc qui nous demande, alors qu'il arrive au pupitre, et qui va nous parler d'un projet tout à fait passionnant aussi, qui s'appelle Jungle Eyes, et qui nous demande de bien vouloir, quand nous sommes équipés d'iPhone, d'aller dans les réglages générales, accessibilité pour inverser les couleurs. L'idée étant, à un moment, quand il nous demandera de regarder le film au travers de nos caméras avec les couleurs inversées, j'imagine en négatif. Donc je redis, pour les possesseurs d'iPhone, ce sont dans les réglages général, accessibilité, j'imagine traduit accessibilité, et inversion des couleurs. J'imagine, quant à ceux qui sont équipés d'Android, on a d'autres réglages qui seraient dans les réglages d'application. Encore une fois, accessibilité, j'imagine, en français, display, écran, et color inversion, inversion des couleurs. Donc vous pourriez trouver l'inversion des couleurs, que ce soit dans les réglages général accessibilité ou dans les réglages d'application accessibilité écran, pour inverser les couleurs. Quand tu nous le diras, Simone et Merli, nous utiliserons nos téléphones. Are you ready?
Yeah. Hi.
Okay, your turn.
Hi. So thanks for having me. My name is Simone Merli. I'm part of a group called Soundwalk Collective. I'm one of those guys up there. The group existed since about 8-9 years, and a lot of our work is based on field recording. So the core of our practice is to travel different parts of the world and to record sound in those specific locations depending on a narrative, a story, a concept that we want to tell. And it mostly requires long terms of investigative field and travel work, which basically means that you spend time on location to allow the project to come alive and to allow the sound to guide you in the sort of development of the actual artwork. Our work is related with notions of anthropology, ethnography, psychogeography, observation of nature, explorations in recording and synthesis. We like to explain our work as a sort of cross-genre or genre bending, in the sense that all of our outputs are normally quite different from each other. Some projects end up being a museum exhibition or a performance, album work, radio broadcast, and also in terms of genre, they tend to be quite different from each other. And this is due to the fact that usually going on a specific trip, on a specific location, and following whichever is the story, the sound itself is calling to be treated or to be composed in a very different way sometimes. This is a photo of a performance that we've done about a couple of years ago. It's a project with Patti Smith, and it's based on recordings that we did of text written by Nico of Velvet Underground before she passed away. And this was a performance, an album release. We have also collaborations with Nan Golding as a photographer, Jean-Luc Godard, and we recorded his film archives. So it's usually very, very varied work. Our work is born, Soundwalk Collective is born out of a previous entity that was known as Soundwalk, and it existed for about 10, 15 years. Soundwalk was sort of our first way to somehow get in touch with sound in the urban landscape. It's simply explained as an audio guide. And so people wear headphones, hit play on their phone, and they start walking down the street. The way it's done, though, it's a lot like a cinematic sort of approach, where there is a narration and a person telling you a story somewhere between fiction and reality. But the point is, what you do is that through the sound and physically walking around for a space, you allow yourself to suddenly see the space or perceive the space in a very kind of different experience from a different light. And so the idea is for you to get lost. And this sort of throughout the years, it led us to approach more artistic project, traveling further, but keeping the core of our work to field recording. In 2016, a year ago, we were approached by Times Square Arts, which is the association that takes care of art projects in Times Square, New York. So they asked us to create content for a program called The Midnight Moment. And The Midnight Moment is a monthly video program where they ask different artists to create content that will be played in all the screens in Times Square. And so because of the nature of our work, they also ask us to create a sound project. The first question we ask ourselves when you want to bring sound in a place like Times Square, what kind of sound, how does it work? It's a place that has such a huge sensory overload of visual sound, and the space is absolutely saturated and polluted. Times Square is known as a concrete jungle, and somehow this idea brought us back to some years back. We developed a concept where we wanted to explore the connection between urban landscape and nature and somehow switch them around. So we were in Berlin and we wanted to create a project linking a city to a jungle and take the sounds of that jungle into the city somehow. So when these came around, it was kind of a no-brainer to think, okay, this is maybe what we should be looking into. So what we actually did, we created a line. This is the 73rd Meridian West. And if you follow that exactly south of Times Square, you end up in some place in the Amazon jungle. The place that you end up to is Peru, and it's on the west edge of the Peruvian Amazon. And it's about 2 days east of a jungle place called Iquitos, which is a small city, which is the gate of the Amazon jungle from the Peruvian side. So we went down there for a couple of months. We drew a circle of a certain number of kilometers around that area, and we captured as much video and sound as we could, with the idea of somehow bringing it back to Times Square. And this was kind of the big challenge somehow. When you come down, to talk about the Amazon forest, one of the most difficult tasks is to not go into a sort of cliche about nature. Somehow the Amazon has been most used and abused by the world of consumption and advertising. And products are sold with the image of the Amazon jungle on it, but actually are products that normally they end up destroying the jungle itself. We know the jungle through ads and film and so on, and we see it as a sort of permanent place where nature will always exist, and in the end, it's a part of a dying species. Times Square is a sort of concrete jungle in the sense that 300 years ago it was the home of Indians and beautiful parks and trees, and today there's actually not a single tree. The architecture made it like a graveyard. It is so tight that actually absolutely no nature is able to grow back into it or exist or be alive. So it was inevitable to take this element in context when you actually perform a piece in Times Square. How did we want to bring nature, reclaim a space with nature and be seen and somehow erase a little bit this kind of overwhelming experience that you have when you're in Times Square? We decided to approach it with this kind of negative, positive idea. So I start with a film point of view. We filmed everything in negative, and in negative sort of film. And what we did in Times Square, we played it back in all the screens, and we asked people to do a simple act like you're doing. You bring up your phone and use the phone as a tool to not see what you actually is there, but to actually see what is not there. So the negative side. The idea is to somehow, be able through the phone to erase reality and be able to see a sort of a ghost that is left there, which is nature the way it used to be back in time. As a consequence, by inverting the colors, you see it, what happens is that everything else is somehow cancelled away. So somehow you have the chance, we're able to give the chance to people for a few minutes, the length of this film, to somehow erase all the world of consumption and the overwhelming sort of sense that Times Square has, and only allow nature to exist for a short moment. So here, I don't know if this plays, but this is a short video that, hold on. I take the audio out because it's not the audio from the composition, but you get the sense of what is happening. And this is kind of the result that we're aiming to, and try to only for a short moment just be able to see the nature and how it is. From a sound perspective, yes. We approached the project in a sort of similar way. I do a step back. The sound project initially was only for 1 month, like the video, and then they decided to extend it. It's still out today, and it's kind of open-ended. I don't know how long they're going to keep it, and it's through an application. I will show you later how to get it. It is working 24 hours a day. You can go to Times Square and take this app, and they give you a set of these beautiful headphones, and you can walk around an area of 8 blocks around Times Square. What we did is, in these 8 blocks area, it's a sort of a map of all the sound that we found in the jungle. So it's a condensed map. So let's say if you walk 1 block left to right, it's almost like walking, 100 kilometers in the Amazon jungle. And you go through sort of all the sound environments and sort of natural habitats and so on. And the way it operates technically is a little bit actually what we've seen before with the Soundways application, where you have sound is positioned and you have all these big circles and you move inside of them. The way it refers to the idea of negative and cancelling and erasing the terrible side of Times Square, let's say, is that by having this kind of sort of very tight headphones, you're able to cancel everything that is outside. So you end up experiencing for however time you want this kind of very immersive sort of sound experience. Maybe this is more technical slides, but I'm not sure how much time we have. Maybe I'm just going to move to the video, and you get a sense of, this is an excerpt of sound and the film. So if you want to do the phone thing now, I think it gives you the chance to understand how actually it all looked. I think that is all. You can, okay, here, I lost it.
So.
But yeah, if you go to jungleeyes.com, then you have a full sort of in-depth description of the project and how it works. You can download the app, and there is a function that even if you're not in New York, it's a kind of a hidden function for the website, and you can kind of walk around your neighborhood and experience the same thing.